We're in Chapter 5, Objective 5.7. We're going to look at a couple of new liquidity ratios. So liquidity is measuring the corporation's ability to pay. So the first one we're going to look at is the quick ratio. The one we had in a prior chapter was the current ratio. This one is going to be more conservative because it's still, if we look at the ratio here, it's still going to have total current liabilities in the denominator, but instead of having total current assets in the numerator, it's just going to have cash, short-term investments, and net current receivables. So net current receivables are net account receivables plus any notes that are coming due in the current year. So what does it exclude? Well, another way to think of it is you could take total current assets, we're excluding inventory, and we're excluding prepaid expenses. So this ratio really gets at your ability to have cash available to pay your liabilities. Now, we mentioned before for a current ratio, like 2 is really strong. Because this is more conservative, over 1.2 would be a low risk, and even 1 is okay, whereas 1 with the current ratio was a little bit risky. So that's the general range, but larger is better. The larger the ratio, the better off the company is. Another way to measure liquidity is to see how fast the cash is coming in from receivables. And it's called days sales in receivables. So let's see, how can you think of that? How many in your current receivables, how many average day sales are in there? So in other words, it's going to give you an idea in the number of days it's taking you to collect. Okay, to collect your account. So the first thing you have to do is get the average sales per day, which is also called day sales. So you take your net sales, which is sales less discounts and allowances, and divide by 365. So if you have your total sales for the year, divide by the number of days of the year, that tells you on average how much you're selling per day. Then to calculate the day sales in receivable, and I kind of lengthen the term to put day sale in average receivable balance, just to point out that what we're doing is we're taking the net receivable average. So you take the receivable at the beginning of the year and the receivable at the end of the year, divide it by 2. That's your average net receivable. And you take that number and then you divide it by the number you got here. See, so that's why you do step 1, and that becomes your denominator. So let's just look here. Here it is ASPD, average sales per day, is 1 million divided by 365 is 2,740 per day. The average receivable, they started the year with 80, they ended with 90, divided by 2, their average size of their balance was 85,000. So if on average they're at 85,000 and they're selling 2,740 a day. So if they started from 0, if they sold for 31 days, they'd have 85,000 at the end of that. Okay? So they're selling at 31 days. Now, how can you tell if this is good or bad? I will just tell you 30 days is generally pretty good. Most companies are on terms like 210 net 30, so collecting in 30 days. Now, if I told you that this company had just a net 15 policy, then this would not be so great. But generally, 30 days is going to be pretty good. If I told you this company had a net 60 policy, like a 230 net 60, that would be darn good. That'd be really good. So it depends relative to their terms. If it's a large number, if it's a 210 net 30 company, and it's up around 60, that is bad news. That means they're giving credit to customers that aren't creditworthy, and they're probably going to have a lot of bad debt expense, and maybe have to recover some of their inventory that they sold. But this is a great number. This is really very, very useful number for analysts. All right, inside the company, they're watching it different ways, but outside the company, you could use the financial reporting information to ballpark it, and it's very, very useful information. All right, that does it for Chapter 5.